The next several topics will take us through working with and building functions. Though it makes sense to build a function and work with its particulars, the exam topics start with running a function and then building one, which is an approach that aligns with practical usage, so that's how we'll proceed. First, we'll define a function. A function is a block of code that can be called multiple times within an app. Functions are best used when you have a process that needs repeating. A real-life example outside of programming can be a daily workout routine one has. Instead of writing down the same thing to do each day, one could write down the set of workout steps once and then, several days a week, have instructions to do that block of exercises. Let's put this idea of functions into a programming example related to gaming. A game could often need to multiply a score and a multiplier. In this 421 signatures file, a function named total score uses two values known as arguments, stored as variables, that multiply a score using this multiplier on line 2. I will get into the anatomy of a function more over the next few videos, but I want you to focus on the print statements on lines 4 and 5. Lines 4 and 5 see print statements that call the function, using scores and multipliers as arguments. I will run this code, and the two numbers are multiplied for both of the print statements. Functions are an integral part of programming as they save time, and as code does not need to be repeated, functions also reduce the number of errors within code. So far with functions, we have seen how to call a function and use arguments within a function. In Python, you can set default values for function arguments, which will be used if the caller does not provide a value for them. Sometimes an argument may use a default value, such as when a sales tax rate is one predominant rate, or in the case of gaming and this 422 default file, the usual multiplier on a score is 1.5. So to save time and potential errors in calling functions, we could make 1.5 the default value for the multiplier argument. To make that happen, I will go into the function definition on line 1 and type equal sign 1.5 after the multiplier argument. Then to test this on line 4, I will remove the second argument from the function call. I will run the code, and the first print score is perfect, as it took the 3,000 and multiplied it by 1.5. Though not common for smaller functions, one could specify the order of the arguments used when calling a function. The use of default and keyword arguments often depends on the function's complexity and purpose, not necessarily its size. To illustrate this concept, I will add another print statement on line 6 that calls the total score function, specifying the name and value of each argument as keyword arguments. A developer may use this method of calling a function to either be more specific about displaying which arguments are being used, or perhaps because the data needed for a function are listed on a form in this order. Whatever the case may be, I will rerun this code. And the function returns 3 total scores, all with the function called in slightly different ways. Functions serve two purposes in Python. They either return a value or they do not. In Python's functions can return a value, perform some action, or both. The value returned by a function can be stored in a variable for future use or for further calculations. In this topic, we will see when the return keyword should be used and when it is not needed. In this 423 return file, I have two functions, one that calculates a total score and another that displays a welcome message whenever the function is called. Without going through the code yet, which of these two functions I just described would warrant a value stored for later use? If you said the total score function, you would be correct. Functions that print messages do not need to return any values. Those messages can be stored in a variable. Functions that do not return any values are often called void functions or procedures. The welcome function on lines 4 and 5 is an example of a function that outputs text. The reason for the function is so that we can call the function as we do on line 10 as many times as we want. And if someone wants to change the welcome message, they need only to do it once. Let's go back to the function on lines 1 and 2. This function has a return statement to return the score times the multiplier. Why the need for a return statement and not just a print statement? If we print the result here, we cannot use it again in code. Look at the code on lines 7 and 8. The total score function is run twice. And the results are stored in two variables, score 1 and score 2. Then, both scores are revealed in an f-string statement on line 11. For lines 7, 8, and 11 to work, the function on line 1 must return a value. I will run this code, and we get the welcome message and the print statement with the two scores. The return statement is very important to understand because it allows a function result to be used later in code as part of a print statement or further calculation. We have seen parts of a function and how they work. Let's put these parts together and define our own function. As we define a function, pay close attention to the keyword used to define a function, as it's not the word function, as is the case with many other languages. To start, I have a blank file except for a comment on line 1 explaining the function we are about to build, which will multiply a score and multiplier and return the result. The keyword to define a function is def, short for definition. I will type that keyword, def, on line 2. Next, we need a name for the function. I will name this calculate score with an underscore between the two words. Next, we need to determine if the function will take arguments, variables that will be used in a condition or calculation or both. Since this function will multiply two numbers, I will add two arguments in parentheses, score and multiplier. Then, as with many other code blocks, I will add a colon to the end of the line. Most functions will want to return a value to be used later in code. As we saw in the previous topic, the return keyword returns a value that can be used later in code. Any code running within a function must be indented under the def statement. For this example, we only need one line to return the score times the multiplier. To call this function, I will type on line 5 the name of the function, and then in parentheses, the score, and the multiplier wrapped inside of a print statement. I will run this code, and we will see the result. Next, let's see the main benefit of functions. I will copy the print statement calling the function, change the numbers, and rerun the code. The same block of code is now run twice. One could run a function thousands of times if needed, and if the function changes, the code for the function only needs to be changed once, thus increasing the efficiency of code and helping to prevent errors in code. Elsewhere in the course, we saw the pass keyword and its use as a placeholder within code. We used pass within the context of a loop. Now we want to know how pass is used in the context of a function. We also want to see what an output screen shows when pass is used within a function. The eventual goal of this code example, 425 pass, is to calculate the total amount for a car, given its amount, the licensing fee, and all applicable taxes. As of now, we do not know what the proper formula is for calculating the total car amount. However, on lines 1 and 2, we have the calculate total function with the pass keyword. In this context, the pass keyword is being used as a placeholder for future code. We can wait for the information or calculations needed to finish creating the calculate total function. The getAmounts function starts on line 4, and on lines 5 and 6, gathers input for a car amount and a license amount, and converts those entries to integers so that they can be used in calculations. Then on line 7, the total is rendered in a print statement. The amount is printed on line 8, and the getAmounts function is run and stored in a subtotal variable on line 10. I will run this code and enter $2 amounts called for in the input statements. Notice the result. The print statement runs, but the total does not show because the only code in the calculate total function is in the pass statement. The benefit of having the pass statement here is that within this code we can still test the functionality of the getAmounts function. At the same time, we await the information needed to finish the calculate total function, which will save time for later testing of this code. As we now know, one function works as expected. We have come to the end of the section on functions. That means it's time to analyze a block of code and answer some questions about the code. Look over the 425 Analyze code and then answer the questions in the workbook project, Review 4.2. I encourage you to enter this code into a code editor and then run the code to help answer the questions in the review exercise. We will go through the answers in the next video. The review exercise has 3 questions. The first was a general question asking if the tax variable is required when calling the calculate total function. The answer is false, because on line 1 we have a default value for the tax variable. Thus, if no tax is provided when calling the function, the default tax rate will be 0.08. Next, we want to know what the 2 subtotals will be. For both subtotals, the amount being taxed is $20,000. The car amount is $19,000, plus the license fee is $1,000. For the first subtotal, the default tax rate is overridden. 10% of $20,000 is $2,000, and the sum of those amounts is $22,000. For the second subtotal, no tax rate is specified, so the default rate of 8%, 0.08, is used. 8% of 20,000 is 1,600. Add the two, and you have 21,600.